This place is strange.
There's no Hulkamaniacs here.
The water, it's not hot.
Oh, no.
Are we in the dungeon of optimism?
Ooh.
It has been a while since we've done this, but we're back. We're doing stuff.
Yeah.
We're up to things.
Up to things and stuff.
You know why? Because we're not too old to still have a good time to talk about things.
No.
It doesn't always have to be about pro wrestling. We actually went to Disney World. You and
Yes.
I want people to know that this whole time, as the screen has gone black through the last 5 years, that the friendship remains just as strong.
Yes.
We went to Disney World. We rode the newest attraction that Walt Disney World has to offer.
I can't believe it.
And I didn't like it.
Oh.
We're not too old to talk about Walt Disney World. We're not too old to talk about things changing. You think for the better.
Yes.
I think for the different, and we're going to talk all about it. My name's Chris.
I'm Eddie.
We rode Tiana's Bayou adventure and have very different opinions. For those who are joining us for the first time, we're going to talk about anything we damn well please.
Yes.
From Disney to Marvel to sports to movies to TV shows to the weather.
I can't
we choose.
wait.
If we so choose, because we are not too old to start again. Disney World is a place for people of all ages, all varieties, all the alls. If you're a living creature, you will have a good time.
It's very true.
In Walt Disney World. And one of the things that I grew up with that I loved, that had a very special, fond place in my heart, was Splash Mountain, one of the big attractions in Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom Frontierland. It is from, I think they opened in like 1990 something. It's
89. I am 3 days older than Splash Mountain.
Ay caramba, all of those numbers make me feel emotions. And Splash Mountain, if I'm sure that people are kind of abreast of this, if you're not, the Cliff Notes version is that Splash Mountain was a really fun ride, but it was based on a story that was rooted in a movie that is making people not feel good. And honestly, even as a huge fan, number one thing is Splash Mountain. I get it. If you do watch Song of the South, which I'll be honest with you, I don't know if a lot of people actually did as a result of Splash Mountain, but if you did, poor taste, not a good vibe, not what we're going for anymore.
Sure.
And as somebody who's the biggest fan of Splash Mountain ever, I understood that the ride itself was in basically what I would call working disrepair.
It was like held together with rubber bands and scotch tape.
Animatronics that weren't firing the right way, things that weren't singing all the time, chickens with their heads cut off.
It was wild.
Things that were just clearly like this 30-something-year-old ride in water needs a change. And we rode it just a few weeks ago.
Sure.
Or like a week ago, depending on when you're watching this, recently, because we're pass holders. We're that level of nerd.
Yeah.
So we got to ride it early. I want to know, as somebody who doesn't have quite the sentimental value of Splash Mountain, what did you think of Tiana's Bayou adventure?
So here's the thing. We've never talked about this. Splash Mountain was the first ride that I ever went on at Walt Disney World.
Oh my goodness.
So it is actually one of the most important. There are two extremely important rides at Walt Disney World for me personally. One is Splash Mountain. It's the first ride that I ever rode. We went down with my family for a birthday. Mine and my sister's birthday are 3 days apart. So our parents took us out of school and we went for our birthday. And my sister was way younger. I was in school, I guess, but my sister was way younger. And so
It would have been cool if you were the exact same age and 3 days apart. It was like
weird.
your mom had.
it was a twin situation, but not.
But she held out. She's like, I'm going to have one of them on Monday.
And
the other one, like, pencil me in for Thursday.
And so my mom and I got up early and we rope dropped the Magic Kingdom. And so my first experience was going through the park and there was a parade happening and my mom had like read one of the books and knew that when there's a parade, try to ride one of the big rides because everybody made a point to go to the parade and nobody's in line. So we rushed past this cacophony of magic that was happening and rushed.
Which might be the actual name of it now.
Yeah, it might be. And we went and rode Splash Mountain and the animatronics were mind-boggling at the time. You know, I'm like 6 years old. And so it was the craziest thing that I'd ever seen. And then we got off and I was so hyped on magic. And at that point, my dad and my sister had come and my dad wanted to ride Splash Mountain. So I got back in line with my dad. And so it is such an important ride to me. But that being said, it's like, I'm a person that lives in 2024 and I've ridden that ride so many times over the last several years after becoming a pass holder that I get it. Like that entire ride did need to be gutted.
That's my whole thing. So like, again, as somebody who will go throughout the rest of their life cherishing Splash Mountain, like, one of the coolest things is you and I and your wife and our, just our little family went on a trip to Disney World for the specific intent of riding this ride one last time.
Yeah.
Knowing that they had given everybody an end date, and that so we went, like, what was it, like September of 2022?
Yeah.
Something like that, where we went with the specific intent of, like, this is it. We need to say goodbye to the ride. We're going to ride it one last time with the conscious forefronted mind of knowing that this is it.
This is it.
And one of the coolest things is, and I'll always be thankful to Danny for it, is, the lines were short. We had like extra magic hours thing. It was like an after night thing where the lines are short anyway. And it was just walk on. Everything was walk on. And my very last time riding Splash Mountain as Splash Mountain, I was in a log by myself.
Yeah.
They let me ride it alone. They're like, there's nobody behind you. Just if you want a log. Like, Danny was like, would you let him ride it by himself? And I'm like, don't go to any trouble. Like, get in.
Yeah, get in. Let's do it.
So there's this awesome picture of me, and I'm at peace.
Sure.
Knowing that this is the last time I'll ever ride this ride. And not that I needed to be alone to enjoy it, but I thought it was just very cool.
It is a very cool moment.
But here's the thing. With all of that said, the ride was in, again, the phrase I'm going to use this is working disrepair.
Yeah.
It was functional in the sense that the Flume ride worked, but at any given time, any given animatronic could be malfunctioning.
There's one Brer Rabbit that I don't think I had seen work since I was a pass holder. When he's hopping.
He's got like the satchel and he's hopping along. And that's the thing is, so like, my big point is a ride that desperately needed to be refurbished, refreshed. Something needed to change because this ride was showing its age rapidly, right?
Yeah.
It was aging like somebody in Gen Z.
So many speakers were just blown.
You ever seen all these 17-year-old, 44-year-old Gen Zers?
Sure,
you know
right.
What I mean?
It's that guy that stands in the mirror that knows all the fast food secrets.
And he's 26, which, again, one day we're going to find out he's lying. He seems like an awesome content creator and like an awesome guy.
But 26, when him saying he's 26 feels like a bit.
I mean, like, were you 26 years ago?
Yeah,
Is
right.
that what you mean?
Yeah.
But like, yeah, anyway, that ride needed the love. And if you're going to go to the trouble, right? So I think that in a very similar vein, Space Mountain needs it because there are literally both, when you're going through the queue and stuff, it's just mannequins in space, you know what I mean? And it's like, we can do better than that now.
Yeah.
But it is in no way in need of a retheming. It's in need of a refresh. If you're Walt Disney World and you're going to spend millions of dollars to take these animatronics out and replace them, like maybe the bear in the booby trap works, so we don't need to do that. But you're right. Most of the rabbits do. Most of the singing things do. And so are we going to go to the trouble of then making new Brer Fox animatronics, a story that has no real pertinence and relevance to anybody under the age of 50 years old, and something that is no longer
culturally appropriate.
Exactly right.
Because that is exactly
right.
That's my biggest point with this, where it's like, in order to fix Splash Mountain to optimal operating conditions, because I always like to think about, when it comes to Walt Disney World, there are different levels of remembrance. There is the perfect memory, the one I just explained to you from 1995, right? Yeah. There's that one. And that version of Splash Mountain is perfect and doesn't actually exist.
Yeah.
And then there's the version of, I go a couple of times in my lifetime where it's like, wow, this is so fun and this is so great.
And I want everything to be exactly as I remember. This is a rare trip for me.
Yes.
And I want it to be what I remember every time.
And so there's that version of the memory. And then there's the pass holder memory where it's, I go here often, and now I know I've seen Brer Fox hopping a bunch of times, and so it's weird that he's not, and I notice all of the wrong things.
And again, at any given time, it could be any animatronic, from the opening story to the ferry.
Right.
It could have been anything.
And so having
and Song of the South is not worth the rehaul.
It's not worth the rehaul, because I remember the entirety of everybody saying Song of the South is a racist movie.
Sure.
I have never,
and it is.
I have never lived in a world where Song of the South isn't a racist movie.
Right, to the point where I think, unfortunately, but I feel it to be true, that if you're passionately defending the change of the IP. I feel like you want that ride to be great again.
Yes.
Are you picking up what I'm putting down? And it's like, I bet you that you wouldn't be, I bet you that unfortunately, that a lot of people that are angry about what they've rethemed to wouldn't be as angry if it was Snow White. Do you understand what I'm putting down?
I saw a thing on X that was very fitting, where it was, where are all of the Save Test Track 2.0 people?
Right. And it just feels like you don't actually care about Song of the South.
Yeah.
And like, while I thought it was, an enchanting ride about a fox and a fox and a bear trying to eat a rabbit, and the rabbit's smarter than the fox, I just can't stress enough how that ride could not just keep going on as is.
Yeah.
And if we're going to do something different, then embracing a popular modern IP like Princess and the Frog makes all the sense in the world to me. And I wanted to talk about this in these two specific but equally important parts, because my opinion about Tiana's Bayou Adventure is not a direct reflection of but it's not Splash Mountain.
Sure.
So I want to now talk about this ride on its own merit, this re-theme on its own merit. What did you think of this ride on its own?
So I really loved it. I feel like this is what this ride needed to be in 2024. This was not a complete teardown and reimagining. Like, they didn't destroy the building and then re-theme, build something brand new.
It's the same track.
It is the same track. So they completely re-themed the guts of this ride. And what this ride needed to be for me is a very fun, lighthearted kind of romp that ends in a 50-foot plunge. And I personally love Princess and the Frog. It's
a great movie.
My top 3 Disney princess films. And
I love the fact that it was actually animated again.
It's beautiful. The music is awesome. I absolutely love it. I love the characters in it.
Dr.
Facilier
is an awesome villain and has added a lot to Mickey's
not so scary Halloween party.
Exactly.
You were gonna not so spooky.
It could be spookier Halloween party.
Yeah, it could be spookier, but the spooky's down the road.
But exactly right. And so that again, my issue with this ride, I'll just jump right into my issue with the ride, is that it wasn't Princess and the Frog enough. I have a couple bullet points, but you did feel Princess and the Frogified, because I didn't.
I did, mostly because it tickled all of the areas that I like about the movie. I really like Lewis. I think Lewis is a ton of fun, and so seeing those animatronics, I really loved that they were big and real and in-life animatronics. And I also loved how they used screens. It was how I would hope they used them in Avatar Na'vi River Journey, where there is foreground elements that are real, and then there's an animatronic, but then there's a video screen behind it that is playing stuff.
And I want to definitely stress that there are positives I took from this ride. This is not like what I was hoping for. One of the things I was hoping for the most, I absolutely got. State-of-the-art, released in 2024 animatronics, because the most impressive animatronic probably on Walt Disney World property is the Shaman. Right? And you don't have to, I actively do not like Avatar. I think that the Pandora world is well done for an intellectual property I care zero
It's also really
about.
stupid that
I walked out of the second one. You were there.
I was there. It was so funny.
I left.
We got halfway through the movie, and he just stands up and goes, "I love you. Goodbye."
I did, and I went home.
He left.
I knew how long the movie was, and I knew I was at the halfway point.
Yeah.
And anybody that saw the movie, I couldn't tell you what happened after. But I remember it's like, all right, we're at the point now, just as somebody who's watched a motion picture, it's like, we need to be getting to a new plot point or a big thing. Like, we need to be moving, advancing the story. And then, some whales came back, and all the blue people were like, yay! And I was like, yep, bye. And I left. I left. I don't know what I did with that extra hour and a half of my life, but it was better.
Oh, it was not a good movie.
So here's the thing, though. That Shaman, as somebody who cares zero about Pandora, Avatar, the movies, whatever, is blown away by how impressive that is. One of the things that opened, I think it opened in 2017, is Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
Yes.
And although it's a very good ride, it is a fun coaster unto itself. The dwarfs look great. And you know what they also looked? new
Yeah.
and modern and not made in 1970 something, 80 so like Peter Pan's ride. Peter Pan, here's something that I think we meet in the middle of, okay?
Yeah.
Peter Pan is an intellectual property worth keeping in the park.
Yes.
Unlike Song of the South.
But
the ride, you need to start all
You need to
over
gut
again
it and just redo the whole thing.
from scratch.
Yeah.
It is dated. Nothing about it. Like, again, if you just insist on classic Disney, then I guess that's its appeal for you. But like, keep Peter Pan, change everything that's inside of
you
the
don't
thing.
even have to change the ride vehicles. I just need you to gut the show scenes.
So to Tiana, you're right, between Lewis and the animatronics were everything I hoped and expected them to be, from the grandmother, the whole thing. What I'm going to jump into is my real biggest complaint overall, because it's not worth dissecting. It is a good ride. It's worth going to Disney World. It's always worth going to Disney World.
It is.
And it's worth checking out yourself. But the things that I would give you, like, if you had to have me grade it, it's an 86.
Sure.
Solid, just got to a B+, I guess. And one of the big reasons, probably the biggest reason, is I, for the life of me, don't know how I'm supposed to ascertain the plot that they, So here's the plot for people, and I'm not spoiling anything. You'll never get it from the ride. Our buddy Bill, shout out to Bill Neville and a couple of park hoppers, is a cast member for Disney World. And so he was told the plot.
Yeah.
So he was able to tell us the plot because he was told the plot. The plot is, it's like a year after the events of the movie, which is another reason I wish it was more like based on the movie, right?
Yeah.
And it's like a year after the movie. Tiana has a catering business.
Yeah, so she's got the restaurant, and then she is starting like a food cooperative.
And she booked a wedding, but she doesn't have the band. And so we get shrunk down to recruit critters to form a band for this wedding. And by the end of it, the big drop makes us big again.
Yeah.
Which is illogical.
Sure.
Because my whole thing, I really like Princess and the Frog, the movie. And I remember when they said that this was going to be the theme, like, we're going with this.
Yeah, right.
I remember specifically being like, what on earth
is the drop.
will cause the drop?
Yeah.
And I didn't know if it was going to be like, was it Dr. Facilier?
Yeah.
Like, throwing
Friends off the other side.
Right. And I didn't care, like, literally, if the story was we're a big carrot and we get thrown into gumbo at the end. You know what I mean? Just like, I was wondering what is going to facilitate this drop, and I just in no way think they did. I don't think they told me much of a story at all.
I would agree that it is about 10 pounds of story in a 5-pound bag. I would agree with you, and I think my opinion might change on the story aspect.
Because I got very little story out of that.
Yeah,
naturally.
I just enjoyed looking at everything.
Right.
And so from that standpoint, I was very pleased. I wasn't looking for like a real in-depth story.
And that's the thing too. Like, I'm not trying to be a nerd about it and be like, I expected it to be the movie.
Yeah.
Like, beat for beat.
No, but when you present a story, you want the full narrative.
Did you get what I just said to you from the ride?
So I knew from the ride, what I knew was happening was she was throwing a party.
Yeah.
And we needed to go find a band for the party. So we were going to the Bayou to find a band, right? Which is just as much plot as the Three Caballeros are going to put on a concert and Donald Duck is chasing women.
Yeah, right.
So I was okay, I'm on board.
And see, my thing isn't that I didn't like the plot.
Yeah.
I don't feel like the ride got me there. And again, say what you will about a story about a bunny outsmarting a fox, but I was very, very clear what was going on around me, much more so, quite frankly, than a brand new ride that desperately needed like a narrator. Like, honestly, just like, I'm serious.
I feel you.
Know what I mean?
Well, because that was the part that I thought was most frustrating was when Bill told us that he was like, it's all in the queue, and it's like, oh, so because I came early and didn't have a line, I missed the plot,
and I've got and right, and that's not enough.
Yeah.
Like because again, not to compare them apples to apples with stuff like this, but like, if you remember Splash Mountain, it wasn't just the fox being like, I'm gonna eat him, and it wasn't just the rabbit being like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
There was also like that other bunny that like told you stuff like
Yeah,
that. Like,
sure.
over there's old Brer Rabbit, and he's always getting into trouble and stuff. Like, remember that?
Yeah.
The rabbit that was sweeping.
Yeah.
That little narration would have gone a long way.
Sure.
And again, I still think that, I guess if I understand correctly, Slip and Falls is when we got shrunk down, and then for some reason the big drop is when we got big again.
Yes. Yeah, because
Doesn't that make the opposite of sense?
Yeah.
As my cats are having a freak out during the middle of the show. That's how cats
work.
operate.
Yeah. Well, I was expecting him to jump on the table at some point.
Sure. I mean, that'll happen.
Yeah.
But like that's my issue with the, like, so just to kind of surmise my points, and I want to hear your summation as well. Beautiful ride, good music. Everything that Disney's doing with their animatronics is incredible. Yeah. From Tiana to the grandmother to Louis the alligator to, like, wow. Look at where we are now compared to 1970 something.
Yeah, right.
Not, Splash Mountain's 1980 something, but I mean, look at where we are now, from that shaman to this to Tron, and just how things can look and operate and feel. But I think that you had a good amount of time and a lot of pressure to nail this, and I just think it's a very fun ride that wasn't quite everything it could have been.
Sure. I believe that there are no sacred cows when it comes to Disney attractions.
Sure.
Right? I believe that there's no sacred cows.
And the castle.
I know. But I believe that this was a great retheme for Splash Mountain. I believe it was an absolute great retheme. I thought it was fantastic. But I think that gutting something like It's a Small World, having It's a Small World be completely blown up.
Deal. Yes. Can I push the plunger? I'll give you $1,000.
Sure. I think that is where... I think that's what Disney needs to do, is just overhaul the whole situation.
And there are things that, like, see, and I agree with you. And I think there are things that will, as long as they work, they will never change there for better or worse.
Yeah, right.
Unfortunately, my least favorite thing on earth, I'd rather have malaria than go on It's a Small World after all. Right? But that ride will never go away. I think the middle ground is this. Right? We're not going to give any time, attention, or money to Song of the South or things that feel Song of the Southish. We should give Peter Pan a whole new vibe, a facelift to say the least, and then to keep classic Disney nerds at bay, we're going to keep stuff like It's a Small World the way that it is. I really think that's the walk. Yeah. Right? Like, because I could list you rides that I think could use it. I think Space Mountain could use some love. Once you walk through Guardians of the Galaxy, Space Mountain feels like a time capsule.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? And not that they have to be exactly the same. They're probably better if they're not exactly the same. But there are things in the park that could be better. And let me surmise my point by saying, I think they picked the right intellectual property. I think Tiana's a great idea. From representation to just it being a good movie. And you don't have to be trying to say the right thing or do the right thing to recognize Princess and the Frog's a good movie. I wish, ironically, it felt more true to the story of the movie in some way, because I just sort of feel like this ride could have been any Disney Critters Are Playing in a Band ride Tiana happened to be in.
Sure.
That's, you know what I mean? It's not just the story that I don't think they told me. It's that she was capable of being in a better story.
Yeah. Sure.
But will you have fun, get wet?
Yeah.
And will kids that never experienced Splash Mountain grow up with this and love it? Absolutely. And here's the other thing too. They will get feedback, and there will probably be things in the future they can do better.
Yeah.
And it's okay that things change, even things that you love.
Sure.
Because you're not too old to still experience them, and sometimes it's cool to experience them for the first time.
See, there he is.
Right on cue. Right on cue.
Hey, bud.
If you liked what you heard, there is more to come. And we definitely want to know what you thought of Tiana's Bayou adventure. Are you excited? Are you planning a trip like we did just to go on this ride? We want to know. Tommy wants to know what you think too. I love you, buddy. And we'll let you know where you can find us soon. But I feel like this,
This might have worked. This might have worked.
Maybe we are not too old to do this after all.
Maybe. We'll see you real soon.
Bye-bye.